The intermediate-term memory (ITM) theory provides a dynamic view of memory as a continuous process involving working memory (WM), intermediate-term memory (ITM), and long-term memory (LTM). Rather than separate, distinct stores, these stages are interconnected, with information flowing through them based on attention, molecular processes, and behavioral factors. Key stages of memory. Working memory, WM. WM is the capacity to hold information actively for short periods. Traditional views associated WM with persistent neural activity, but newer models, e.g., Fieberg and Lanzner, 2017, suggest that information can also be maintained through gamma oscillations and activity-silent mechanisms. Items in focal attention remain active and require less retrieval effort, which is reflected in reduced brain activation in areas like the medial temporal lobe, MTL. Transition to ITM. When no longer directly in focus, information moves into intermediate-term memory, ITM, supported by short-term synaptic plasticity, STSP. Although this memory stage does not immediately drive behavior, a residual molecular trace can later be reactivated. Characteristics of ITM. ITM serves as a bridge between WM and LTM, lasting around 3 hours in model organisms like Limnia. It is labile and dependent on new protein synthesis. The memory trace remains fragile and can be disrupted by interventions that block protein synthesis. Transition to LTM. ITM can consolidate into long-term memory, LTM, a more stable form of memory lasting over 6 hours. Consolidation from ITM to LTM requires both transcription and translation. The effectiveness of this process is influenced by training factors, such as spaced learning, which enhances the molecular processes needed for LTM, e.g., CREB regulation. Long-term memory, LTM. LTM is a durable memory form involving changes in gene activity and protein synthesis. During consolidation, ITM and LTM stabilize, and retrieval can reactivate memories into a labile state, requiring reconsolidation to restabilize them. Memory boosting. A second ITM training session within 24 hours can convert ITM into LTM, even when the initial ITM trace is not behaviorally evident. This memory boosting relies on the residual molecular memory trace and is disrupted by blocking protein synthesis or extinction training. Removal from working memory, WM. To efficiently manage information in WM, the system includes mechanisms for removal of irrelevant information. This removal is necessary to avoid clutter and free up capacity for new, relevant information. There are 2 types of removal. Temporary removal. In temporary removal, the representation is silenced but remains bound to its context. This process may involve a shift from activation-based storage to weight-based, synaptic, storage, allowing the information to be reactivated if needed. This type of removal does not sever the connection between the content and its context, making it easily retrievable later. Permanent removal. Permanent removal involves unbinding the content from its context, effectively reducing interference during subsequent encoding tasks. This unbinding process clears WM of outdated or irrelevant information, allowing the system to focus on current goals. Mechanisms such as Hebbian anti-learning may help forget the now irrelevant information. Why is removal necessary? Goal relevance. Removing irrelevant information helps to maintain focus on what's important, reducing cognitive load and enhancing task performance. Facilitation of new encoding. Freeing up space in WM allows for the encoding of new information, preventing interference from outdated content. Updating working memory. When new information arrives, the system must efficiently replace outdated information to maintain accurate representations of the environment. Evidence for removal. Behavioral studies. Experiments show that once irrelevant information is removed, access to remaining relevant content becomes faster and more accurate. Neuroimaging studies. Techniques like EEG and fMRI show that neural activity related to irrelevant items decreases after cues mark them as irrelevant, and in some cases, this activity can be reactivated if needed. Factors affecting memory formation. Training procedures. Spaced learning promotes LTM formation by ensuring sufficient molecular changes. Context. Memory retrieval and boosting depend on context. A change in context can prevent LTM formation. Protein synthesis. Both ITM and LTM depend on different levels of protein synthesis. Translation for ITM and both transcription and translation for LTM. Neural substrates. Specific neurons, such as the RPED1 in Lymnia, play a role in consolidating memory from ITM to LTM and in memory boosting. Interconnectedness of memory systems. The ITM theory supports the idea of a continuum of memory stages, where information flows from WM to ITM to LTM. These stages are interconnected rather than isolated, and their transitions are influenced by molecular processes, behavioral factors, and context. Working memory as activated LTM, alternative perspective. An alternative view posits that working memory is essentially activated LTM, with attention determining which parts of LTM are accessible for current tasks. While the ITM theory introduces an intermediate stage with distinct molecular requirements, this perspective suggests that both recent and remote memories operate under similar principles, with WM reflecting focused attention on stored LTM content. In conclusion, the intermediate-term memory theory frames memory formation as a multi-stage, dynamic process beginning with working memory and transitioning to ITM and LTM. This framework emphasizes the importance of molecular processes in stabilizing memories and highlights the removal mechanisms in WM, which are crucial for preventing interference, managing limited cognitive capacity, and allowing for efficient memory consolidation into long-term stores.